Hi there, hope you're doing really well today, and welcome to Mining the Comments, in which we'll do something we've never done before. We will look at a comment that came in not in the written form, but in the spoken word. And what I mean by this, well, actually, it was something that happened yesterday that I want to talk about today. We had our drop-in class in our immunity program, and one of our students said something that really made me think and made me sort of question myself or question our teachings or question things that I've been saying before. And it was somebody, and you know who you are if you listen to this, who basically said the same. She said, you know, Daniel, you share that when we're sleeping well, it's because we don't have any relationship with sleep. But she said, I used to love sleep. I used to look forward to it. I used to really, really like sleeping, you know? And when she said that, it sounded so obvious and so true to me. I was thinking, like, she's right. You know, many people who've never had any problems with sleep, will say like, "Oh, I love sleeping," and things like that. So, I think what became clear to me is that the way I presented this is not really accurate, and so this made me think like, okay, what's really going on here? So that's this comment is the topic of today's mining the comments. So again, what was said, it was something like that. You say that when we sleep well, we don't have any relationship with sleep, but I used to love sleep. That was brought up. And the reason I've really thought of it as like, when we're not struggling with sleep, we have really no relationship with sleep. It can be expressed like this. We don't call anyone a good breather. And this was something I learned from Alina, and I believe this is very true. Breathing is just this passive process that happens by itself, when we're not thinking about it. And if we start thinking about our breathing, it will still happen by itself, but we can pay attention to our breathing, and then there can be a pause. It's not quite as regular as it is when it's automatic, but eventually still happens. Like I just took a breath. Was it voluntary or not? I don't even know, but breathing always happens. And we don't really think of ourselves so much as a good breather or a bad breather, and that's why internal struggles around breathing are not very common, because we're not monitoring it. We're not trying to be better at it or anything like that. I said they're not very common because they can happen there too. Sometimes we have this like, I forget to breathe sometimes, which is actually when we take voluntary control of our breathing and we pay attention to that and think that something is wrong. Or the interrupted yawn, when somebody's like, hey, Daniel, like I start to yawn, but I don't complete it, which is again, like we pay attention to our yawning, and then it's not passive anymore, and we think something is wrong. So they do exist there, but they're not so common. And I think it is true that to some extent it's because we don't think of ourselves as like a good breather. So in a way, this is kind of the paradox in my mind, which was like I often thought of it as like when we have no particular relationship with sleep happens easy, just like with breathing. But clearly, sometimes we have a relationship with sleep, and so, and we're not struggling with sleep. So how do we reconcile these two like observias / ideas? And this is what I've been pondering since yesterday. And so I just broke up into 3 parts. One is where we talk about the presumed importance of, we're looking at the importance of the sleep relationship, and then the relationship we have, or how this changes when we have insomnia, struggle sleeps, and then look at the relationship that I think truly matters. There's one particular relationship that I think does matter more than the other. So let's go over these 3 points. So the importance of the sleep relationship is our first topic here, and as we already pointed out, many do have. I don't use the word good here because good is so like dualistic. Is like good, bad. Is like that wording really can lead us into this dualistic way of thinking. So I say pleasant instead. Many do have a pleasant relationship with sleep and sleep well, and many have no relationship with sleep and sleep well. So this is the kind of the first thing I want to really point out, that yes, we can find many people we know who say like, I love sleep, never had any problem sleeping, I look forward to it. They do have this sort of pleasant relationship with sleep and sleep well. But if we ask other people, near, family members, friends, random people, like, how do you feel about sleep? And they may well go like, well, I don't know, something that happens. And how do you sleep? Sleep well, right? So both these things can be very, very true. So I want to say this, that this relationship with sleep, it does exist. Some people have that. It does exist. It's kind of the first thing here, but it does not in itself. Having a relationship with sleep in itself does not necessarily create any struggle. And also, a relationship with sleep is not needed for sleeping well. So, to summarize this first part, I want to say that where I had things wrong, where I had not seen things correctly, is that uh, we can very well have a relationship with sleep and sleep well. It's in no way necessary or required to not have any relationship with sleep to sleep well. Was the first thing. Now, where this can easily lead then is like wondering, pardon me, what happens with this relationship if we had one when we're having trouble sleeping, and is that something we need to pay attention to? So, with that in mind, we can say the following. We can ponder it the following way. If we had a, let's call it again, pleasant relationship with sleep, and now we have trouble sleeping, has that relationship changed, or will it change? And I thought we could actually learn a lot from thinking about how we look at other relationships we have with friends, with family members, etc. Somebody we're interested in, something like that. If we feel like someone, or if we like someone very much, let's say we really like someone, we had a really nice relationship with someone, we like them very much, but they for some reason now seem kind of less interested in us. They don't return our calls. They seem to be having other things going on. Do we now like them less? And to me, it's like it's an open-ended question, but the answer to me becomes it's not obvious. We can have somebody but we like a lot, and they seem to be other things going on, and we like them just the same. We just know that they're busy. The relationship hasn't changed. Or somebody may be paying less attention to us, and we kind of become upset at that, and we no longer think of them as fondly as we did before. So both can happen. And now, and again, there's no, it's not clearly there's no way to really predict that. And same thing when it comes to sleep. If we have some trouble sleeping, that doesn't, to me, necessarily mean that our relationship with sleep has to change. Someone can have trouble sleeping and still be like, I love sleep. I really enjoy sleeping. It's just not happening right now. Or somebody else may say, like, I used to love sleeping, but since this happened, like, I don't even want to think about it. It's not something I look forward to anymore. Again, there's no this relationship with sleep does not necessarily have to change, is my thinking here. And now, one other thing to bring up is, though, again, going back to relationship with other people, is it possible that we turn someone away from us because we start to sort of really crave their love, their affection? Like if we go after that friend who started to ignore us a little bit, and we're like, oh no, I'm missing out on a friendship. I want it. Like, if anything, our relationship changes in a way that we desire that other person's attention. We really want their attention. We want them to call us, like that. And that can actually hit to the other person feeling pressured, right? So sometimes, taking this back to sleep, like sometimes we have, let's say, a pleasant relationship with sleep, something we really liked. We were having, no trouble sleeping. We have some trouble sleeping, and then the relationship changes in a way that we start like desire sleep. It feels like we missed out something. We crave it. We want it. We're begging for it. We're negotiating for it. We're bartering for it. Like and that can, put so much pressure on sleep that it doesn't happen, right? So that's another. That is a way the relationship can change in a way that it does impact our sleep, right? So our relationship with sleep can change or start to exist when we have trouble sleeping. I believe this is true. We may have no relationship with sleep, and then we can have one, right? But the second topic here, everything here has been a little bit fuzzy. Like, this can happen, this cannot happen, doesn't necessarily happen, etc. But I think one thing we do know is that our relationship with being awake, that does change, or it starts to exist when you have insomnia. I think this, to me, is very, very clear, because if there was no, if we were not afraid of not sleeping, if we were not afraid of being awake, if we were not trying to avoid that, then we wouldn't have any trouble sleeping. And so we can have a neutral relationship with being awake before we have trouble sleeping, or no relationship with being awake, but that that relationship has changed when we have trouble sleeping. So I think that is helpful to know. The relationship to sleep is kind of like, it can go many different ways, but it's not so much what matters, I think, when it comes to insomnia or trouble sleeping. So final topic here is like, okay, what are the relationships that do matter? Well, I think the relationship with wakefulness, it does matter, because again, the attempt to escape being awake at night, having that fearful relationship to being awake, is really what drives our struggles with sleep. But there is another relationship that I think matters more than any other relationship, and many of you probably know which one I'm talking about. What it is, the relationship with ourselves. Because really, whether it is wakefulness or anxiety or exhaustion or fatigue or anything else that is unpleasant, uh, you know, that all comes from inside us. It doesn't come from anywhere else. It comes from within, and we start saying like, this is wrong, this shouldn't be happening. That is a form of like that self-criticism that keeps things going. And when we're having a sort of troubled relationship with ourselves, we can see how that leads to inner struggle for sure. So when we, on the other hand, have a warm and nice and kind, a pleasant relationship with ourselves, then anything above that is on the surface level. When we are kind and compassionate with ourselves, nothing else really matters. So let's leave it on that note. I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead. Thank you for being here. I look forward to having you here next weekend. And until then, take care. Bye for now.